This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Words never come out, leaving you in doubt. I'm trying your feelings, believe me. We got the habit of making it tragic. We're fighting and denying cause we don't see. Where's the line and what's your point of view? If you were here, you don't know this is the truth. If you could feel my love, you'd never let go. How far you get close when you don't pick up your phone. I want you so bad, don't you fall.
LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Finally, show with the balls to call it like it is. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Countdown to audio torture.
The Rated R Safety Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Let the eardrum pain begin.
Forget the corporate bullshit. This is the Rated R Safety Show with your host, Dr. It doesn't matter who the host is.
Oh, so true. It even hurts that it doesn't matter who the host is. Yes, it's the truth. You know, we started off right with the truth on what's so important in talking about it. It's never been about who the host is. It's always been about who the listeners are, the viewers in some cases, and all that kind of fun stuff. Anyway, today's Monday, June the 26th of 2023, day 177th of the year, and only 188 days left to go. So if you think about it for just a brief momento, you know that we're not even at the halfway mark as we are talking about it. Anyways, we are broadcasting from the Safety FM studios in Orlando, Florida, and coming across the multiverse known as Safety FM, and then we are hanging out with our friends and colleagues at that other place.
Radio Big. USA, Canada, UK.
Oh, yes, hanging out with those people over there at the Radio Big side of the house. So there you go. Fun stuff always going on as we have the opportunity to hang out with Demo. So don't worry about that. So anyways, how was your weekend? Did you do anything exciting? Anything that you would love to talk about and all that? I will tell you, I finally got to see the Misfits in concert after 7 years trying to make it there. We can get into long stories about that later on. But finally was able to see them after 7 years of pretty much waiting after we got the first set of tickets to being able to actually make it to the event. And boy, was it worth actually seeing. Good time, hot night in Tampa for sure. And I'm talking about heat, just in case if anybody was wondering. Yes, little humid, but hey, fun times overall. Megadeth, Fear, and some Misfits. But let's not get too carried away, because that's more of a hour number 3 story because of what we do around here. In case you were wondering. So with that being said, yes, let's talk about everything that was going on. If you want to interact with the show, it's easy to do so by going to callinradio.com. We're also available on all the streaming platforms, as you can imagine, and I'm talking about those social media platforms on where we stream. We're also available on Safety FM Plus, RadioBig.fm, SafetyFM.com. So if you want to see it, we're there, and if you want to stream it, just the audio version, Radio Big app and also the Safety FM app is the easiest way to do it. Not even talking about us being available on the Apple Music side of the house, if you just say, hey, tune into Radio Big and all that kind of fun stuff. So, I mean, we're there, we're everywhere. We stream 24/7, at least, the shows that we have. So there you go. Anyways, before we get into all that stuff, why don't we start talking right away about what the hell was trending, because I think that's important.
Here is what was trending. Rated R Safety Show.
So looking at the trends of the ends, a potential rebellion in Russia fizzled spectacularly over the weekend, and a new discovery of FTX investigation could claw back hundreds, and I mean hundreds of millions of dollars. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Also, there has been a renewed interest in the Titanic in light of the Ocean Gate, and we'll talk about that mission. And still no real update on actor Jamie Foxx's medical condition. Season 25 of The Voice will feature the first ever double red swivel chair, and Malcolm in the Middle reboot may actually happen. We'll talk about that as we are talking. And then we will talk about everything that is going on, well, most of the things that are going on inside of the world of safety and all that kind of fun stuff. The professional broadcasters will come in and broadcast their asses away because that's what they do. And then we'll talk about everything else that is going on in this lovely, lovely world of ours. Because why wouldn't we do that? I mean, come on, let's just be realistic in regards to the things that do happen. Anyways, with that being said, why don't we do that right away? Bring in those pro broadcasters, let them tell you what the hell is going on, and then I will sit here and wait for you to come back, my little raven. Yes, for us to do the things that we do around here. No, seriously, do those things that we do. So let's get into the news right now, because I think that's going to be important.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
NBC News Radio, I'm Mark Mayfield. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says the short-lived rebellion by a private military group shows real cracks within Russia over its war in Ukraine.
Those cracks are already profound, economically, militarily. It's standing in the world. All of those things have been dramatically diminished by Putin's aggression against Ukraine.
Appearing on CBS Face the Nation, Blinken said the Kremlin went from expecting an easy takeover in Ukraine 16 months ago to having to defend Moscow against the Wagner Group over the weekend. He added that the White House always prepares for every contingency related to Russia, including the possible fall of Putin's government. The Kremlin reportedly reached an agreement with Wagner to drop charges against the group's leader in exchange for the group ending its rebellion. The U.S. Coast Guard is launching a formal investigation into the deadly implosion of the Titan submersible that killed all 5 on board. The investigation was announced during a news conference Sunday in Boston. Captain Jason Neubauer is leading the probe, which he said is currently in the evidence collection phase. Neubauer added that the MBI investigation that's being conducted is the highest level of U.S. Coast Guard investigations. At least one person is dead after severe storms hit parts of Indiana on Sunday. Trey Thomas reports.
Multiple suspected tornadoes rolled through the state after warnings were in effect for multiple counties. A reporter describes the scene in Johnson County.
A lot of damage in this area, and this is just some of the beginning. There are houses that have no roofs. There are trees that are down.
High winds and tennis ball-sized hail were felt in areas south of Indianapolis. Videos circulating online showed a twister touching down and damaging homes near Greenwood. I'm Trey Thomas.
And Sarah Ferguson has been diagnosed with an early form of breast cancer. A spokesperson for the Duchess of York said Sunday she's been undergoing treatment and was diagnosed after a routine mammogram. Doctors have told her the prognosis is good. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio.
Listen at your own risk. Rated R Safety Show.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. China's praised Russia's reaction to the attempted mutiny at the weekend by Wagner chief Yevgeny Prigozhin. Greece's Conservatives say they're the most powerful centre-right party in Europe after a second election win in a month. G7 countries are vowing to eliminate gender economic gaps by boosting women's empowerment, and Britain's Prince William's beginning a tour of the UK to start a project aimed at ending homelessness.
You are listening to something magical. You're listening to the Rated R Safety Show.
The development phase in the Pittsburgh synagogue shooter trial is set to begin today. Chris Carraggio reports.
Earlier this month, a jury found Robert Bowers guilty on all counts in the 2018 mass shooting at the Tree of Life synagogue that killed 11 people. In the first part of the sentencing phase, the jury will consider aggravating circumstances to determine if Bowers is eligible for the death penalty. Aggravating circumstances include the atrocity of the crime and the number of victims. Legal experts say it's a near certainty that the jury will find the defendant to be eligible, after which the jury will then decide whether the defendant should be sentenced to death. I'm Chris Carraggio.
At least 3 people are dead and others are injured following a shooting in Kansas City. The gunfire erupted Sunday morning in a parking lot, leaving 8 people shot. 3 victims were found dead at the scene. 5 others were hospitalized with what are believed to be non-life-threatening injuries. Cops say that preliminary evidence indicates that there was a large gathering of people in the parking lot when the shooting broke out. No arrests were immediately announced. Human remains have been found in the California wilderness near the area where actor Julian Sands went missing. Jim Forbes has more.
Police have been searching for the missing British actor since he disappeared while hiking in January. Harsh weather conditions have made active search and rescue difficult until recently. On Saturday, San Bernardino officials announced hikers discovered human remains around Mount Baldy and a positive ID should be completed by next week. Sands is well known for his roles in 24, Smallville, Arachnophobia, and Leaving Las Vegas. I'm Jim Forbes.
And the extreme heat that's been broiling Texas for more than a week is going to spread beyond the Lone Star State this week. Heat advisories were out early Sunday morning for much of Texas, eastern Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, western Mississippi, and western Tennessee. Over the next few days, high heat will push into parts of the Plains, Mississippi Valley, and the southeast, as well as a big stretch of southern New Mexico, Arizona, and parts of southeastern California. Forecasters say temperatures will be 5 to 15 degrees hotter than average. I'm Mark Mayfield.
This show is almost as enjoyable as hearing the sound of the toilet flush. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Do you have a claim and not sure where to turn? Coastal Claim Consultants are professionally licensed and bonded public insurance adjusters employed exclusively by you, the policyholder, to represent you after sustaining an insured loss. They assist policyholders in all aspects of processing the claim, working closely with the insured to provide the most equitable and timely settlement possible. They will provide you with comprehensive service, anything from inspecting the loss site, analyzing damages, compiling claim support data, reviewing applicable coverages, assessing replacement costs of damages, and negotiating your settlement. The adjusters at Coastal Claim Consultants will evaluate your claim for no upfront cost whatsoever. Coastal Claim Consultants' fee is based on contingency contracts and are paid when the insurance company sends you a check and it's in your possession. Coastal Claim Consultants are licensed to assist you in the following states: Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, Georgia, and South Carolina. For more information, go to coastal-cc.com. That's coastal-cc.com. For more information, lighting the way to recovery. Coastal Claim Consultants.
Wake up and text. Text and eat. Text and catch the bus. Text and miss your stop. Wait. Text and be late to work. Sorry, I'm late. Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working.
Who, me?
Text and meet up with a friend you haven't seen in forever.
Hi. Oh, hey.
Text and complain that they're on their phone the whole time. Text and listen to them complain that you're on your phone the whole time. Text and whatever. But when you get behind the wheel, give your phone to a passenger. Put it in the glove box. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Is that a faucet running? That's not a faucet. That's a river rushing through the forest. Forest rivers provide over 100 million people with clean water to drink.
What? I can't hear you because of the vacuum.
That's not a vacuum. That's the trees in the forest cleaning up the air we breathe.
I didn't know the trees were so amazing.
Yep, and the forest gives us shade, trees to climb.
That's awesome. Let's go explore some more.
Visit the forest today and enjoy all it does, just for you. To learn more about the forest and find one near you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
We all want to make sure that our family is protected in medical emergencies. What many of us don't realize is that health insurance won't always cover the full amount of an emergency medical flight. Even with comprehensive coverage, you could get hit with high deductibles and copays. That's why an Air Medcare Network membership is so important. As a member, if an emergency arises, you won't see a bill for air medical transport when flown by an AMCN provider. Best of all, a membership covers your entire household for as little as $85 a year. AMC and providers are called upon to transport nearly 100,000 patients a year. This is coverage no family should go without. Now, as a Jay Allen Show listener, you'll get up to a $50 e-gift card with a new membership. Simply visit airmedcarenetwork.com/safety and use the offer code SAFETY. And don't forget to tell them that Jay Allen sent you.
Listen to our host of the Rated R Safety Show. Self-implode on our airwaves. Only on Safety FM.
You know, I always wonder what self-implosion and being on this show would look like, because we talk about it all the time. So, you have to sit back for a moment and go, what does that actually look like? Maybe we'll find that out on a later date. Anyways, with that being said, it is currently 15 minutes past the top of the hour, so let's get into all these things that we get to talk about. The leaders of Russia's most prominent mercenary force, the Wagner Group, led a convoy of tanks and soldiers into the outskirts of Moscow over the weekend before halting at the 11th hour in deal reportedly brokered by the leaders to stop the further advancement. The bizarre ordeal set the internet on fire on Saturday as the Western observers anticipated a bloody civil war in Russia over who would lead the country, with the fighting beginning in Moscow and further hampering Russia's invasion. Yes, Russia's invasion of the Ukraine. Ultimately, none of that came to pass. In fact, take a listen to this. The head of the rebellion will not even face charges, as all troops loyal to him will not be prosecuted. I'm going to butcher his name, but it's Prigozhin. Yeah, good luck saying that. Instead of headed to the Belarus, while his troops returned to their posts. And it gets even stranger. During the advance on Moscow, the Wagner Group forces shot down multiple Russia's military aircraft, killing at least a dozen official military troops, and still there will be no legal pursuit over that. Of course, in the wake of the actual pickaxe to the skull in the morning of the trip of the 30th story balcony someday. But so far, the Kremlin distance itself from pushing any further raises that many unanswered question for the time being of what the hell is going on. I mean, that's kind of a weird. Can you imagine that whole thing like happening here, on what the outcome would be, on how everybody would be looking at that whole thing? I mean, I just mention it and go, it gets a little strange as things do go on, and time does go on. So there you go, some stuff to think about. Anyways, let's talk about this. Sam Bankman-Fried recorded videos last year to be included as part of a masterclass series just a few months before FTX crypto exchange imploded. Masterclass videos included well-known artists and experts teaching tools and techniques to excel and given field. In this case, SBF wasn't the only crypto guru that was included in as part of the videos, but in the segments there was ultimately cut. The revelation comes amid the recent court filing of FTX's new management is trying to claw back $700 million paid to venture capital firm headed by the man named Michael Kives, who introduced SBF to other celebrities in power plays in entertainment and media, including the masterclass opportunity. So there you go. So a masterclass by SBF. What do you think here? I mean, it kind of makes you think about all kinds of interesting stuff, doesn't it? Now, I'm trying to figure out, is it the master class like that you hear for all the ads that occur from time to time, or is it just somebody naming something master class? And I'm going to tell you, I've always hated the title of that, of master class. It kind of makes you kind of seem kind of asshole-ish for some reason. I don't know why it does. It just does.
We at Safety FM are not responsible for what this idiot behind the microphone is saying. He is trying to be entertaining. Rated R Safety Show.
So take a listen to this. FedEx faces a massive consumer lawsuit that alleges the delivery service has committed a massive odometer fraud over the last 12 years. Beginning in 2010, FedEx began selling well-traveled delivery vehicles at auction instead of having them scrapped, usually around the 350,000 mile mark. A new lawsuit alleges the company conspired with a large vehicle broker called Holman Automotive Group to roll back the visual mileage that counts as sending the trucks into the auction block. In 2017, a commercial truck broker says that he brought a vehicle from Holman and it was resold with the odometer showing about 180,000 miles. The buyer had, had a vehicle computer analyzed and had it put through some testing, and it came back saying that it had over 400,000 miles. The buyer accused the broker of fraud, and then when the broker started digging, now he's the plaintiff's on the suit. Yeah, FedEx rep says that they are vigorously defending themselves about this. So what do you think? Rolled back mileage on your odometer. I mean, think about it. It gets kind of weird when you start thinking about all this stuff. It's like, out of all the things to do, this is what we're talking about. Like, how many vehicles are we having the conversation about? Because that's where it gets a little interesting. Because, there has to be some level of trust when you're doing this, and you want a certified vehicle, so it's going to get kind of weird when you hear that. Anyways, trust the experts, a Harvard professor who studies behavior psychology and recently wrote a paper on how to get to act honestly, is accused of fabricating her own research. Yep, you heard me there. Here's where things get a little bit nerdy, but earlier this month, 3 other behavioral scientists who run a blog focused on reviewing the integrity of social science research wrote the lengthy post question about the methods of results of 2012 study written and accused professor, a woman named Francesca Gino. They allege that she cooked the underlying data to get the results to fit her narrative. The blogger says that the evidence of the similar tampering in at least 3 other studies that was conducted by Gino. Go figures, the New York Times point out the reporting in the story in 2015. A team of scholars reported that they had tried to replicate the results of 100 studies published by the prominent psychologist, the Psychology Journal, and succeeded in fewer than half of the cases. The behavioral study provided especially hard to replicate. This is according to the New York Times. Now, I don't know how much in the weeds I want to get here. So I think I need more data because this is just kind of the way that it goes. Most of the times when you do any kind of dumb case study, you start off with the model and what questions you're trying to answer. Like, what is your research question? It's kind of what it starts off with. And then you kind of go down that whole path of you're expecting X outcome because that's how the models are normally developed. So did they push it too much to one side or another? Yes, probably they did, because you're supposed to adjust the model as you go. Now, if the model wasn't adjusted as time went on, dear John, then there's probably more questions than answers of what needs to happen there. I mean, just saying. So take a listen to this. Button, a mutt from the UK, miraculously walked away with minor injuries after falling nearly 150 feet down a cliff. Take a listen to this. While taking a stroll by the owner in Bridlington, England, the pup, who was not on a leash, reportedly fell off of a cliff. Members of the local Coast Guard rappelled down to get Button, who was described to be very friendly. This isn't the first story about a pooch surviving the steep stumble. In 2021, a dog fell 170 feet into a gorge while walking with the owner, Daniel Boone, in the Daniel Boone National Forest. He, too, emerged without serious injuries. This is according to the New York Times. Are cats the only animals now to have 9 lives? Maybe that's really the question to be asking. I mean, I don't know. It gets a little weirder as we are talking. Anyway, so let's talk about the box office. Don't know if you did any of that stuff over the weekend, but let's talk about it 10 to 1, 1 to 10. Starting off at the number 10 spot, The Boogeyman was at $2.5 million. At number 9 was The Blackening with $3 million. At number 8, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 with $3.5 million. At number 7 was A Little Mermaid with $8.6 million. At number 6 was Asteroid City with $9 million. At number 5, Transformers Rise of the Beast, $11.6 million. At number 4, Jennifer Lawrence's new movie, No Hard Feelings, with $15.1 million. At number 3, falling down from number 1, was The Flash with $15.2 million. At the number 2 spot was Elemental with $18.4 million. And reclaiming the number 1 spot, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse with $19.3 million. Anyways, with that being said, I think it's time in our life to bring in some John Small and let him tell us about what the hell is going on with the market beat.
Here's your Market Beat Minute for Monday, June 26th, brought to you by GenesisGoldIRA.com. Equity markets pulled back last week as traders prepare for this week's PCE price index. The price index is expected to show another hot increase in consumer-level inflation and keep the Fed on track to hike rates again. The question is if the FOMC will hike by only 25 basis points or will it hike another 50 or more. As it is, the market is only pricing in a single interest rate hike and may be surprised by the data this week. The S&P 500 pulled back and snapped a winning streak, but is still above the key 4,300 level, so the near-term uptrend is intact. The index may pull back to 4,300 before moving higher, but the stage is set for the updraft to continue. Even with hot inflation, the rise of AI and stimulus-related government spending underpin strength in the tech and industrial sectors and will help the market move higher. The question is how high the market will go before the reality of the Fed's new normal is realized. You can get the inside track at MarketBeatMinute.com.
The rise of AI. So there you go. Yep. Thank you, John, for the information of what the hell is going on, because we definitely want to know that. So let me tell you a little bit about what I was able to find to go something like this. The Dow lost about 219 points to close at 33,727th on Friday. The S&P lost about 33 points to close at 4,348, and the NASDAQ lost about 138 points to close at 13,492. West Texas Intermediate closed at $69 a barrel, and Brent crude was at $74 a barrel. The national average price of a gallon of gas was at $3.57. Bitcoin kept above $30,000 over the weekend, trading around 30,500. There was more than 5,270 flights delayed within, into, and out of the United States on Sunday, with about 655 cancellations. Tuesday night's Mega Million drawing will be for $343 million jackpot or $180.1 million cash payout. Tonight's Powerball drawing will be for $440 million jackpot or a $230.5 million cash payout. So there you go. Anyway, so I have to talk about it because, I'm going to die in this chair if I don't. So, you know that Ocean Gate was making the rounds last week about what was going on. So, number one, Netflix is releasing Titanic starting July the 1st, again, on their platform. But in some other news, the nonstop coverage of the Ocean Gate submersible has led to a surge in streams of Celine Dion's Titanic theme song, My Heart Will Go On. According to TMZ, the streaming platform reported a bump in more than 500,000 streams since the rescue mission of the missing sub ended last week. Speaking of the Titan tragedy, ceremonies were held for the Titanic Museum attraction over the weekend, one in Branson, Missouri, and the other in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, honoring the 5 men that were lost in submersible. Owner of the exhibits, John Kellogg Jocelyn, was friends with one of the victims, Paul Henry is what we'll go with. According to TMZ, they were both part of the second team to explore the Titanic wreckage back in 1987. The 5 men's names will be added to the list of Titanic victims who have already been displayed at the museum. So there you go. Talking about World of Strange, that's what's going on. I was reading something, and I don't know how true it was saying that Celine Dion song was entering into the Billboard Top 100 again, and it was somewhere around number 12. I don't know. I haven't vetted that information, so I probably should have not even said it, but I did say it, so now too late in regards of doing anything about that. Anyways, take a listen to this. The suspect accused of Club Q mass shooting is expected to plead in a plea deal today in his arraignment. George Blochler, the district attorney who prosecuted the Aurora Theater shooting case to trial, believes that the plea bargain is not a bad outcome.
Get closure for the victims in a way that you can't through a trial because there are years of appeals that take place afterward.
23-year-old Anderson Lee Aldridge has the arraignment today in his alleged shooter that took the lives of 5 people and left several injured at an LGBTQ nightclub last November. The suspect faces more than 300 counts, including murder and hate crimes. A possible plea deal would ensure that at least a life sentence for the attack. The suspect Club Q shooter cannot be sentenced to death, as Colorado abolished the death penalty 3 years ago. Survivors of the shootings were honored as the Grand Marshals in Denver Pride Parade yesterday. District Attorney George Butchell, says that we don't know the details of all the charges yet.
My best guess is this shooter is going to plead guilty to every single murder count and probably the attempt murder counts that cover all the victims in there. And then that same day will likely be sentenced to prison for the rest of eternity.
So let me ask a kind of a strange question. How the hell would you not know if you're making a plea deal? I mean, I'm just asking. I mean, you have to have something that is already on there. I mean, I'm just saying. I'm just asking the question. Anyways, a new study says that 1 out of every 29 people considered themselves to be clumsy. Bree Tennis has more.
Everyone has varying levels of coordination, but are some people clumsier than others? According to science, the answer is no. The University of Delaware did a study of athletes from 18 universities. They studied the subjects on neurological and cognitive ability and compared injuries. They came to learn that clumsiness comes down to reaction time. It's not inherited, and you're not more prone to bumping into things than anyone else. They found any momentary distraction could throw the athletes off, and the same goes for regular non-athletic people. I'm Bree Tennis, NBC News Radio.
Okay, I'm regular non-athletic people. I mean, that's kind of a way to put it if you really want to think about some stuff. Anyways, an amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act led by Iowa Republican U.S. Senator Johnny Erst would prevent funding to China's Wuhan lab. Take a listen to this.
It's one of 3 amendments attached to the act that would permanently ban China's Wuhan Institute of Virology, along with the EcoHealth Alliance, from receiving Department of Defense dollars. The EcoHealth Alliance previously funneled nearly $2 million to the lab for coronavirus experiments. I'm Andrew Haupt.
Okay, thank you, Andrew, for the information of what is going on. Take a listen to this. 3 Planned Parenthood locations are closing in Iowa as a nonprofit organization consolidates service in the region.
The Cedar Falls Center is permanently closed. Centers in Council Bluffs and South Des Moines will be closed in the next year. Planned Parenthood North Central states, providing reproductive and sexual health care services in Iowa, Minnesota, and Nebraska, cites staffing shortages, rising costs, and an increase in demand for abortions as reasons for the consolidation. I'm Keegan Turnbow.
Okay, thank you, Keegan, for the information. Take a listen to this. The St. Peter's and Paul Giussette Church in downtown Detroit is celebrating the 175th anniversary. Pastor Gary Wright says that he's inspired by the church and its members have accomplished in those 175 years, with the church doing the work early for the poor.
One of the Jesuits reached out to them, and some women in the parish helped him. They started what today is Matrix Human Services, one of the largest social service organizations in the city.
It was built back in 1844 in the heart of downtown, nearly closed in the 1960s and 1970s. The church runs its Pope Francis Center Monday through Saturday to give homeless people somewhere to shower and meet with doctors and lawyers. Rebecca McMasters is the director of the parish life of the St. Peter's and the Paul Giussette Church, and talks about Pope Francis Center.
A day program that runs Monday through Saturday that services our homeless community. You know, there's showers, we bring in lawyers and doctors and nurses and anyone who can help.
So there you go. Some interesting stuff as we are talking. Take a listen to this one real quick. The Ottawa County Department of Public Health is being criticized by the County Commission by attending the Pride Festival these past several weeks. Public health officials say that Adeline Hambley defended her department attendance with the tents in Grand Haven Pride 2 weeks ago and Holland Pride Festival on Saturday.
Being accused of grooming or promoting sexual deviance because we're attending and providing that service to members in our community, it's extremely frustrating. And it's really coming from political motivation.
She says that they are discussed STD prevention and gave 7 Mpox vaccines at the Grand Haven. County Commissioner Allison Mederma criticized the department in the recent meeting, saying that it's being in the attendance and they are promoting sexual promiscuity, which in turn can contribute to future clients of public health. Ottawa County Commissioner Allison Medema criticized the department for attending the Pride Festival in the recent meeting.
I believe that participating as a sponsor in this event went against what many people in our county would view as 1, healthy people, 2, promoting and protecting health, and 3, valuing integrity and excellence.
Okay, so there you go. A lot of interesting stuff as we are talking. Anyways, it is 34 minutes past the top of the hour, which means we're already running behind, my love. Yes, we are running behind, so let's do this. Let's talk about the main story, because it seems like it's a good time to do that main story stuff. If not, what the hell are we doing?
Here is our main story on the Rated R Safety Show.
So I guess here's where it gets kind of weird as we are talking about all the stuff that happens from time to time inside of the world. So you just heard the news story, if you were following along, about, hey, these people were at an event and part of the commission did not agree with these people attending this event because of all the other potential stuff that could be taking place. So let's talk about this as safety practitioners that are inside of the world of the stuff that we do. So let's talk about this. Are there things that happen inside of your organization that you do not agree with that your company promotes? Okay. Are there things inside of your organization that occur that you don't agree with that your company promotes? Now, I will tell you my default one to go to is the drive to zero. I'm going to sing it right off the bat. Now, there could be thousands, hundreds, millions of things that come to your mind, but that's the one that's my biggest default go-to. Because, listen, you can't agree with everything because that's just kind of the way that it goes. It would be kind of a weird world if you agreed with everything that I had to say or vice versa. Imagine how that world would go for us. It would be kind of boring, not as entertaining as this one is. But think about it. When your job or your place of employment starts saying this is the drive, are they able to listen to pushback, regardless of what it is? If you agree, disagree, and so on. Now, I remember many, many, many years ago, my boss and I had this district manager that we would interact with and would tell them about the things that we liked and the things that we didn't like that the company was doing. And I remember one year, they were about to roll out this new plan, and they came to our location, and they told us, we are going to roll this out, and we do not want to hear about your thoughts about what this entails because you guys are so doom and gloom. Doom and gloom because we had an opinion about what was going on with the rollout inside of the organization. Now, here's the thing. I don't think you have to agree 100% with everything that goes on inside of your company. And I believe that there is a thing to do behind closed doors, and there's a thing to do in front of, behind closed doors and then in front of a group of people. And I'm not saying you have to agree with everything. And I know that when I say those words combined like that, people go, what? What do you mean? What do you mean behind closed doors, in front of doors? I don't have to agree with your policy, and I don't have to support it. It's kind of the way that it goes, because you have to have some kind of ethics when it's all said and done. Like, listen, the people that trained me to do the work that I do taught me a long time ago, and not that I didn't know this shit a long time ago, was to stand up for what I believe in, regardless. Even if I'm in the midst of it and go, okay, I'm the only person that's fighting this, I don't go with the crowd. And I mean, if you haven't learned this throughout the years of us hanging out doing this thing together, kind of some weird times. But I just don't go with the crowd. It's not my default. Meaning, if I agree with something, yeah, I'll go with it. Not a problem. But I don't care if there's 99 people out of 100 that are going with something. I'm not going to go with it because the other 99 are doing it. Just not what happens. So is it okay within your organization to stand for what you believe in? And if it's not, what do you do? And if it is okay, how does it work? Think about those aspects today and how they go inside of your place of work. Because if you're not getting the best of both worlds, how does it work out? It becomes a very, very weird spot. And you want to know something? That's why I like talking about it, because I like the world of the weird.
Oops! What did he just say?
We at Safety FM don't always agree with viewpoints of our hosts and guests.
Now back to real safety talk on Safety FM.
Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to the home of real safety talk.
You're listening to Safety FM. We'll be right back.
Let's start start using cutting-edge warp speed 5G technology with your cell phone. Let me tell you about my friends at mobile.io. They have an ultra-fast 4G LTE and 5G network that covers 99% of Americans. So they've got you covered everywhere. Think about it for a moment. You have the opportunity to take a test drive for 10 days with unlimited talk, text, and premium data. What is premium data? Premium data is an allotment of a cellular data that you receive from a higher priority on the network. You won't get throttled like you will with some of those, well, non-brand service providers. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to mobile.io. That's mobile.io to start your 10-day free trial.
Hello. What is dedication?
I am the father of a 9-year-old little girl and a 6-year-old little boy, and I find fatherhood both relentlessly challenging and relentlessly rewarding. My daughter is biological and my son is adopted. I love them both so much, from the morning when you wake up to putting them to bed at night, and every moment in between. It really is so special, and boy, is it exhausting. One thing that I fear about being a parent is the future for my children. I think a parent's job is to protect our children, but also prepare them for the world so they become good, kind human beings. But I'm also hopeful that the future holds a more inclusive and compassionate world for them.
That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
If you're worried your friend may be struggling, remember, you don't have to be there to be there.
You can say, how are you, or get a fake tattoo. You can ask with an app if it works for you. You could chat on the game, kick off your flip-flops. You can ask on your couch while you binge watch. Whatever gets you talking.
Reach out to a friend about their mental health. Learn how you can help at seizetheawkward.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and the JED Foundation.
So do you feel like you're missing out on what everyone is starting to do now, that live streaming thing, and you don't know where to start or what to do? I have the resource and the information to provide to you in regards on how you can stream onto 40 social media platforms all at one time. Yes, that's 40 social media platforms all at one time. All you'll need to do is go to safetyfm.com/one. That's safetyfm.com/one. That's ONE. So just in case, and you'll be able to start live streaming just like you're hearing people starting to do right now, up to 40 social media platforms.
In order to save the planet from cow farts, why doesn't someone just invent really large gas X pills?
God, what's that awful stench? Radio.
All of the reasons up in our feelings, we don't go to the unknown in a bad dream. Under the pressure, can make it all better. Keep my eyes closed when it's the most like a war scene. There's a lot in what you're born of you. If you will hear me, don't you know this is the truth. If you could feel my love, you'd never let go. How do I get close when you
Oh, yes, this is still that show that we call the Rated R Safety Show. Hour number 1 of the Jay Allen in the Morning Show. Damn, am I so glad that I get to hang out with you. Morning in and morning out, depending if you're listening to the podcast, then it could be later in the day. But here you go. This right here, If You Could Feel, and this is my, If You Could Feel My Love, better saying. I should say the whole thing. By Bells. Songs readily available on Spotify and iTunes. You can give it a little, streamer action, little YouTube music as well. And like I say, we listen to a little bit of everything. This is some chill pop is what they call it. And by the way, 44 minutes past the top of the hour. Yeah, that's what goes on around here. Oh, you know, what it is to feel love and to feel music. You know, music will always have a pretty special place in my heart. There is no doubt for that whatsoever. I can't describe it. That's why it goes so long when we play it around here. Anyway, so let's just get into it. Yeah, let's do that. Let's get back into the move and groove of stuff that we have going on, because it's always a fun time as you and I get to hang out. But let me tell you the most important thing. We can talk about safety. We can talk about every news story that goes on. But the most important thing that we'll ever talk about is things that can help you. Definitely can help me and definitely can help you. But I definitely want to talk about it because I think it's so important. But I want you to remember that no matter what you're facing, you deserve to be connected with help. To Right Love on Her Arms wants you to know that people have been where you are now and things can get better. Healing is possible. To find out more information of the resources that are available at To Right Love on Her Arms, all you have to do is go to TWLOHA.com and go to the section that says Find Help. If you're on the website, all you do is go all the way to the far right-hand side. It is a giant button that says Find Help. They cover all kinds of information there. Anything from addiction, depression, anxiety, eating disorders, self-injury, suicide, trauma, grief support, and resources. You name it, they have it. It's on the website. They're available 24/7. All you have to do is just go to TWLOHA.com. If you need immediate help, view the 24-hour helplines that are right there, because there's a shitload of them. There is no doubt about it whatsoever. So there you go. To Right Love on Her Arms. A place near and dear to my heart as we do talk about this. Let's talk real quick about some things that are going on inside of all of the things that are happened over the weekend and all of the things that we would, sit back and talk about. So let's do food for thought real quick. To celebrate the launch of a new Kraft Mayo Buffalo style dressing, the company has released a product to ensure you'll never risk being caught without your Buffalo Mayo again. It's called Buffalo Balm. I'm not joking. A lip balm tube that is filled with Kraft Mayo Buffalo style dressing instead of lip balm. It is available now. I'm not joking. It comes from a reusable balm tube, a bottle spout attachment, and a bottle of Kraft Mayo Buffalo-style dressing and instructions. Once it's full, you can put it into your bag or pocket and, set it to apply with your Mayo balm the same way that you would apply lip balm. But you'll just cover your favorite food instead of your lips. And your thoughts of lip balm makes a mess when it melts in your car. So hold on, let me ask a question for you, because I'm kind of curious. Mayonnaise. This is a mayonnaise-based product. Once you open mayonnaise, Miracle Whip, whatever the hell you want to call it, do you normally put it in the refrigerator, or you just kind of leave it around? Because this is kind of weird that you can just put it in your pocket or your bag. And how warm do your pockets get? Because that's maybe a whole other question to ask.
We are now video streaming the Rated R Safety Show. I don't know why our host has a face for radio. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, it's being called the world's hardest dish, and we're pretty sure that they're correct. A traditional stir-fry featuring stones. Yes, I did say stones as a key ingredient has sparked culinary curiosity on Chinese social media. Samplers are supposed to suck on a small rock to enjoy the dish rich of spicy flavors. After sucking off the flavors, they spit out the rock. Hence the dish name Sododu, which means suck and dispose. Videos of people sampling the Sododu, which it originated in the province of Hubei, have sprung up all over the Chinese social media. Vendors have poured chili oil onto pebbles sizzling on the grill. Sprinkle them onto the garlic sauce and then stir fry with everything else in the mix of garlic cloves and diced peppers. Each portion costs about 16 won, which is about $2.30. I'm just hoping it doesn't reuse the stones, because that could probably get kind of strange relatively quickly if you Think about that for a moment. I mean, think about it. Reusing the cells or the stones. Yep. Sounds weird. Anyways, take a listen to this. The Iowa Utility Board will decide on natural gas delivery rate increase proposed by Mid-American Energy. Take a listen to this.
This rate increase would affect your bill by about 6% of your total monthly gas bill. However, the cost of the gas itself is going down. It's been going down for months.
Greenwood would be the Mid-American says that if the trends continue, customers should see an annual 30% decrease in their bills. The state utility board is hosting five in-person public meetings that will be held in August and in July before handing down their decision next May. I mean, I guess they have some time. It'd be the first rate increase since 2022. And I only mentioned this because people are going to like, what the hell are you talking about this in Iowa? Because these are things that you're looking at in America. So you have to go, okay, how far is this going to impact me? So with this being said, I want you to think about this, and I don't know how far you're thinking into the future, but I'm going to talk about this. This right here that's going on right now, if you are in the U.S., you could almost already be planning your 4th of July weekend travel. And this weekend coming up could fall into that whole cluster. So let's talk about this real quick. The number of people traveling over the long 4th of July weekend will break records. Take a listen.
An estimated 50.7 million Americans will travel 50 miles or more for the Independence Day weekend, a number even higher than before the COVID pandemic. AAA says more people will be traveling by car now that gas is about $1.20 lower than it was a year ago. Air travel should be up 11% to 4.1 million. The fact that the holiday falls on a Tuesday, giving many a 4-day weekend, is helping to spur the demand in travel. I'm Rory O'Neill.
What do you mean a 4-day weekend? People are probably trying to plan out their whole vacation cycle around something along those lines. Just saying that for just a moment. Take a listen to this. A high-end hot ticket house in the market of La Mesa, California. Bree Tennis has the details in case you have a lot of cash lying around. Take a listen.
The house is built on a hillside in La Mesa and boasts ocean views from every single room. It was built in 2004 by Janet and Al Johnstone, who capitalized on the view by building a house that can operate like a merry-go-round, although not as fast. Top speed is 2 revolutions per hour. The home boasts 5,100 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths. There's also a granny flat, which does not rotate, but the 2-car garage does. It runs on solar and has a list price of $5.3 million. I'm Bree Tennis, NBC News Radio.
Okay, so think about that real quick. Would you want a house that rotates? How exciting would that be? I mean, think about that real quick. Oh, so what are you doing? Oh, I'm just hanging out in my room that moves around. I mean, that gets kind of weird as we are talking. Anyways, it is currently 51 minutes past the top of the hour. I think it is time to bring in some John Smalls inside of our life and let him tell us about what the hell is going on with the Motivation Minute.
The Motivation Minute is courtesy of InsuranceChicken.com. Today's quote was submitted by Cole. Plato said, "Good people do not need laws to tell them to act responsibly, while bad people will find a way around the laws." Sad, but true. This is one of the reasons many people cite for not restricting law-abiding citizens to protect themselves. It's an issue that absolutely has 2 sides, and both sides think they are right. Now, I'm not here to tell you that your opinion's wrong. After all, it is your opinion. But think about how we could possibly enforce any law to a group of people who do not obey laws. That is the big unanswered question that keeps this topic alive for generations. And so far, nobody on either side has the answer. This has been today's Motivation Minute, courtesy of InsuranceChicken.com. They're known for insurance quotes. I'm John Small. Thanks for listening. Your favorite motivational quotes can be submitted for upcoming programs at motivationminute.org.
The CDC says e-cigarette use is surging. A new study by the health agency says e-cigarette sales shot up more than 46% from January 2020 to December 2022. The CDC's Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report issued recently shows cigarette sales went from 15.5 million to 22.7 million over the past 2 years. Sales of tobacco and mint-flavored e-cigarettes fell, but sales of fruit and candy-flavored e-cigarettes, which are a favorite of kids, jumped. A new poll shows 61% of Americans disapprove of the Supreme Court's overturning of Roe v. Wade 1 year ago. Just over half say they're strongly against the Dobbs decision that turned abortion rights back to the states, according to the NBC News poll. Now, those views are broken down along party lines, with 92% of Democrats saying they disapprove of the ruling and 65% of Republicans saying they do approve of it. Women, especially younger female voters, were more likely to disapprove than men. Health Update, Jacqueline Carl, NBC News Radio.
Okay, thank you, Jacqueline, for the information. Yes, it's going to probably take us a few moments to get used to the new way that this is going to be done for our health beat. So there you go. Just letting you know, just keeping it real. Take a listen to this real quick. Another Chicago Pride Parade is in the books. U.S. Senator Dick Durbin was one of the thousands who gathered yesterday on the north side in the 52nd annual Pride Parade in the city. Take a listen to this.
Illinois is an accepting state. We believe that the standards of acceptance and tolerance are really fundamental to democracy.
Spectators were cheerful and positive despite the brief downpour during the 3-hour celebration. The parade featured floats, trucks, golf carts, and cars decked out with streamers and flags. So there you go. Now, let's kind of move a little bit further away. Take a listen to this. Participants in one of the Pride events that are getting backlash for a controversial chant. This occurred in the New York Pride event. Take a listen.
Videos on Twitter captured some of those marching in New York City's annual drag march, chanting, "We're here, we're queer, we're coming for your children" in Tompkins Square Park on Friday. The Post reporting others were chanting, "We're here, we're queer, we're not going shopping." Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted, "This movement grooms minors to have mastectomies and castration and fuels a multi-billion-dollar medical child abuse industry." Meanwhile, others on social media tweeted, "It's more likely a joke aimed at conservatives who claim the LGBTQ community is trying to brainwash children." I'm Jacqueline Carl, NBC News Radio, New York.
Okay, so there you go. You have two sides of that segment. That's why I definitely wanted to play both sides and say, hey, what do you think? Because it's definitely something to think about as we are talking. As I take a look around, let's look at some things that happened back on this date, because that always seems to be something to talk about as we are hanging out on this lovely Monday. So if I take a look back, let's see. Back in 2018, WHO confirms that the polio outbreak in New Guinea 18 years after it was declared free of the disease has a total case, 3 cases that prompted the declaration of the outbreak. That happened back in 2018. If I look around at some birthdays for today, let's talk about this. Harley Quinn Smith, yes, apparently somebody was a Batman fan, 24. Jacob Elordi turns 26. Ariana Grande turns 30. Jeanette McCurdy turns 31. King Bach turns 35. Aubrey Plazas turns 39. And Derek Jeter, he turns 49 today. So that's some birthdays. If you're looking at some days of the year to celebrate, well, I have some of those for you. It's World Refrigeration Day, National Beautician Day, National Chocolate Pudding Day, National Canoe Day, and Please Take My Children to Work Day. Yes, Please Take My Children to Work Day. Like, are you handing off your children to have somebody else take them to work? I mean, I'm just asking the question, of course. I don't know. Please Take My Children to Work Day? I mean, that's the question as we are talking about it. So there you go. There's all that kind of fun stuff as we are talking. Okay, and some other things real quick. If you need a random joke for today, I am sure I have one of those for you. If I'm ever murdered, it'll be because I said something absolutely perfect to someone with no sense of humor. I'm just saying. Anyways, if you need a question, matter of fact, do you need a question for the water cooler? Now let's do the phone starter. If you need a phone starter for today, what is an easy to get into but hard to get out of? Most conversations. There you go. There's that. If you need something for the water cooler, try this. Question. In the last year, 1/3 of us have used a swear word while taking this, talking to this person. Who is it? A phone customer representative. Not a joke as we are talking. So there you go. Anyways, at the top of the hour, I'll be going over to radiobig.fm if you want to come and hang out with me. If not, you can stay on Safety FM and hang out with, the man, the myth, and the legend, Sheldon Primus, as he talks about the business of safety consulting. So there you go. Some options for you if you are so inclined to do so. Anyways, if I can leave you with a deep thought for today, I would love to leave you with this one. Don't worry if plan A fails. There are about 25 more letters in the alphabet. Think about that. Anyways, thank you for always being the best part of Safety FM and Radio Big, and that is the listener, because without you, it doesn't make a lot of sense to do what we do around here. I know who you are.
Duh.
You know who I am. Love ya, mean it, and goodbye.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.